Okay, tēnā koutou katoa. I'm Lee Hale, and I'm from the School of Physiotherapy, and I've been asked to chair this morning's session. And this is our last session of the November series, and it's I feel quite honoured to end it all off. Thank you, Ruth. And we've had a wonderful time and heard so much. So it's a great privilege to have the last session. And I'll start with the karakia, open it up, and then I'll explain what's happening today. Okay. So, kia hora te marano, kia whakapapa ponamu te moana, he haraki mā tātou I te rangi nei, arawa ato, arawa mai, tātou I tātou katoa, huia, tākia. May peace be widespread, may the seas be like greenstone, a pathway for us all this day. Let us show respect for each other and for one another and bind us all together. And sorry, it's not what Wally does when he opens up. He does a wonderful job of opening our sessions each time, but he will be here at the end to close off today and the series. So thank goodness for that, because he does a much more gracious job than I do. So today, unfortunately, one of our speakers is unwell, so cannot present. So we have two speakers, and we're allowing them to have a bit longer to talk. So first of all, Sandra Yellowhorse will go first, and then Andi will go after that in the second space, Andi Buchanan. And right, and then after that, we'll have time for questions and discussion, but also we would also like to spend a little bit of time thinking about what we might like to, if we run the series next year, which we would like to do, what would be a topic, a theme that we might like to talk under, remembering that the theme this time round has been around neoliberalism. So give that some thought, and you can put your thoughts in the chat, and talk. All right. So to get started, I'm very pleased to, and unfortunately, Sandra, I think you are in Dunedin, but you couldn't quite make. Auckland. You're still in Auckland. The flight hasn't even come yet.
Well, no, to turn around, it wouldn't have arrived in time.
Okay, so that's why everyone's on Zoom. So Sandra Yellowhorse is a Dene parent and researcher in the field of critical Indigenous disability studies. Sandra is a research fellow at Te Punga Wānanga School of Māori and Indigenous Education at the University of Auckland, where she received a PhD in Indigenous education. Sandra's work is rooted in Dene or Navajo storytelling, which examines philosophies of disability from Indigenous perspectives. She uses Dene ancestral stories and land-based knowledge to expand the nature of being, identity, belonging, and well-being for Indigenous diverse relations. She uses these teachings to develop frameworks for Indigenous inclusive education for Indigenous schools and Indigenous learners across the globe. And it's lovely to have you here, Sandra, because just not so long ago we had another North American here speaking, not Indigenous herself, but talking about First Nations research. So it's lovely to have you here. So over to you.
Oh, kia ora, everyone, and great to meet you and see familiar faces. Kia ora, Kay. I'm really pleased to see you. Let me just get my slide going here. All right. So, she'e Sandra Yellowhorse yanashia, ki ani nishle to beligana bashish chin, tachini dashache, do kinlachini dashanella kote go amanashle. So, I am Sandra Yellowhorse. I am Dene from the Navajo Nation. And if you don't know where that is, that's an indigenous community in the southwest corner of the United States. So, I'm a very far way from home, but a grateful guest here in Aotearoa. I am wearing a black turtleneck. I have brown, kind of a little bit highlighted hair, the millennial side part, some thick eyebrows. I like to smile and I have some freckles. And I just want to thank the Donald Beasley Institute and the University of Otago. And Umi, thank you so much for bringing me into this safe space with you to share this work that's so close to my heart. Ahiaha, thank you. So the title of my presentation is Looking from Niltsah Be'ad, Indigenous World Building and Disability Justice. And this word Niltsah Be'ad is a word from my Dene language, and it means female rain, which I'll explain a little bit later. So why do I do this work? And it's because of my experience as a mother. I am gifted to a witty, artistic, fierce cat lady, young Dene person who has blessed my life with abundance. And my daughter Tifa has taught me about the formidable, unshakable power of sovereignty and the rebellious freedom to be oneself. And so here's a photo of Tifa and I on the screen in front of Tutohi Tanu at the University of Auckland when we first arrived in Aotearoa. Tifa has short bangs, similar eyebrows as me, little rectangle green glasses. She's smiling and hugging me, and she's wearing a little magenta and dark purple polka dotted dress. So Tifa in the Western world, she's known as autistic, but in our Dene world, she is a descendant of our ancestors who held the knowledge of the universe and brought it into this world that we live in today, into the fourth world and what we call the glittering world as Dene people. And in our Dene world, we are taught in all aspects of our worldview to remember the profoundness of our humanity, along with the precious teachings of what it means to be in the world. And today I share my story as just one story of many as a Dene parent who tries to make sense of a Dene perspective of disability and autism using the ancestral knowledge, the values, and the kind of theoretical framing of my people. And my whole PhD thesis was really just focused on this one question that's here on the screen. What is disability from a Dene perspective? How do my people conceptualize disability within the context of our teachings and our knowledge? What did our ancestral stories teach us about this concept of way of being? Did the concept of disability exist? These were all questions that I had. So I wanted to bring the thinking and the heart knowledge of what my ancestors thought, what I thought they thought, and kind of merge that with my own experience as a mother and as a parent. And I want to just say that this is just one perspective. We're all diverse as Dene people, and this is just my perspective from what I draw from my own experience and learning. And this process was really fulfilling for me. This work is so meaningful because from this journey emerged this wellspring of knowledge that helped me in my learning and my life journey alongside of Tifa. So I just want to say that, returning to Indigenous knowledge is so important because when we think about disability more broadly, we're often faced with this thing that I call like an epistemic collision. It's a variety of narratives that inform an understanding of disability that we engage with socially. And we can all recognize the medical model, right? The medical narratives that often propel singular structural understandings of disability that are prolific across systems, from health to education. We also have social and community narratives, which I'm really interested in. These consider place and peoplehood. Sometimes they include spiritual and religious views, family perspectives, and those we might inherit oh my goodness. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. The word's not coming out. We also have legal and political narratives, right? And these are often framed within the rights discourse. And then, of course, what I see is counter narratives, these ancestral narratives that kind of come from us thinking about our many relations through cultural knowledge, in land-based pedagogy, stories, narratives, songs, prayers, and of course, first-person narratives and those with lived experiences. And within this concentric kind of circles that we see here on the screen, this is kind of how I see the different narratives interacting with one another to shape how we come to know what disability is. And as many of us know in this field, it's primarily the medical and legal narratives that saturate systems. The medical model shapes every domain and service that disabled people engage with across their lives. It's there in some ways. But when we center a cultural model, we know that Indigenous people have their own understandings of disability and diversity, and these are often rooted in relationship and understanding the rich diversity found everywhere in the natural world. And it is through storytelling, which is one of my methods here, but it's also the methods of our ancestors, that we can begin to narrate another understanding of disability found within ancestral stories, our songs, our prayers. So a story is part of learning, it's part of sharing, it's part of imagining. And at its heart, storytelling is a creative endeavor. And because of that, I believe that story can change the world. So story can be a lifeline and a guiding light, as Diné scholar Jerome Clark reminds us in his quote here on the screen, that story offers the potential to create possibilities and create futures where there seems like there aren't any. And we're living in a time where we must communicate these possibilities before us and to build futures at a time when the future itself is fragile and uncertain, at a time where the language of diversity is under attack. So story is very much about a call to imagine and to build, actively build a new world. And another quote on the screen is from Diné educator Kevin Boleyn, who shares that story is also about modeling possibilities and invoking that deep reflection needed to step into right relations as we journey through life. So this means that storytelling and its philosophy, its function requires action, right? It's action on all of our parts for there to be a future where we can all thrive. And this is really important because one of the key messages from perspectives of disability all sort of point to aspirations of well-being and flourishing. They all return to the principle of right relations. And this slide has a little illustration of a cactus blooming. And for me, that kind of represents a balanced ecosystem with some bullet points here of some of these main points that I'm going to go through. So Indigenous communities of all backgrounds that I've encountered, we all seem to understand this concept of right relations and what it means as a value system. And I see it time and time again in the work that I do and across the different types of literature and relationships that I have with other Indigenous nations. As both a theory and a practice, right relations are a powerful socio-political ontology, which has ensured that the life ways of all our relations were nurtured, predicated on the principles of interdependence and reciprocal accountability. At its heart, right relations are a system of care. And this framing greatly departs from the ways that we're kind of socialized to think about the context of disability. In many structural contexts, disability is treated as something that kind of happens to someone, as kind of sets them apart from the norm. It's very focused on the individual outside the wider context of the many relations, such as the community. And such a framing for me is inherently othering and marginalizes the diverse relations, and it actually works to perpetuate ableism. So when we think about right relations, we're really thinking about a framework that is a life way. It's not just kind of a theory, it's a theory and practice. It's a way of living and being in the world. And it centers these principles of inherent sovereignty and reciprocal interdependence. And inherent sovereignty is such an important principle because it's people are inherently sovereign. They have the right to be who they are, to have the values and the embodiment and agency and self-determination and all of these things. It's up to society to honor that sovereignty, right? And it's very different from what we know as a rights discourse, in which there is a criteria and sometimes like people, and then people are given or acknowledged as having rights. Two very different systems. And I think this framework of thinking about inherent sovereignty is so important to the conversations we're having today. Right relations also kind of challenge the neoliberalism in the sense that it challenges the language of assistance and helping. If we're thinking about right relations and the system of care, we're thinking about all the mechanisms and the functions that make up that system. Because as we know, and as I share today, that some of the ways that are packaged to people in our community, framed within the language of they're assisting us, they're helping us, are actually quite violent and difficult and can really impact our lives in negative ways. So right relations also offer creative and cultural ways to reconceptualize disability or neurodivergence through this understanding of relationships. And this framework of right relations is a place we return to that is seeped in these principles of interdependence, relational accountability, a place of power and agency where we build and nurture the world in profound ways. So this is a heading slide with a beautiful painting on it with the title of a little piece that I'm going to read today. And this is a piece from my PhD thesis that I think just really kind of helps me kind of illustrate some of the points I'm trying to make here and help us unpack that a little bit. So I share stories of the land, and more specifically, a story of water. Wrapped within my own journey as a mother who journeys alongside my Kia'ani young person. And this is my story of looking from Notsah Be'ad, from looking from the perspective of female rain. The day my daughter was born, there was Notsah Be'ad, female rain. Female rain is gentle, steady, and symphonic, and although it is gentle and calm, it carries with it its own remarkable power and gifts. These gifts are life-sustaining and part of the Dana principle of O'Ina'e, water is life. In a literal sense, water is fundamental to the production of life. Every aspect of life relies on water. However, in our Dana thinking, water has spiritual elements and values of being predicated on reciprocity. From this perspective, water and life can be understood through their multiple connections and relationships and impacts on countless things, people, and places. Water represents and embodies more than just its Western reductive definition of a liquid. In Dana epistemology, not only is water precious and sacred, but it has personhood and demonstrates dimensions of being that exist outside of Western ontology. Water has character, such as the distinction of female rain. Water is more than just water, just as Notsah Be'ad is more than just rain. One could say that the way I came to know my daughter was influenced from my understanding of Notsah Be'ad. She embodies more than how Western thinking would know her. And just like the rain, she brought me to knowledge, and I came to know her through a set of values and never-ending cascading relationships in the way that I know the world as a Dana person. My daughter was blessed to be born into female rain, and acknowledgement of that blessing, I named her after the rain that day. Dana stories narrate multiple realities of embodiment and being. The stories of things we know are stories of multiple ways of being known. The world we came to know in the years that followed my daughter's birth were chaotic and difficult. It attempted to force us into a world of singularity predicated on dominating worldviews that did not align with our own. It was a world with a prevailing view of disability that held the experience and narrative of struggle, burden, and survival. And through it all, I still looked back to the teachings of that day, to the teachings of the rain, and I hold dear the lessons of Notsah Be'ad. The knowledge of Notsah Be'ad affirms our infinite connections to the world of relationships. It helps me know and be known through multi-directional ways of knowing. Such truth forms the basis for infinite ways of being in the world, contributing to reciprocal knowledge, movement, and profound connections that produce meaning. These teachings remind me about the abundant diversity of the world, affirming the inherent value of all life. So this slide has two pictures on it. The first is a painting by a Dene artist, Gil Scott, and it's a panel painting that's split down the middle. On the left is a depiction of female rain with the embodiment of a woman with long hair that's blue and purple with gentle purple clouds and light blue rain raining upon the beautiful desert of Dene Bekeya, our homelands. On the right side of that painting is our Dene man, who has his hair tied back in our traditional way and is entwined in these bellowing dark clouds with thunder and rain. And this is more of a forceful rain. And both of those together are depicted in the image on the left. And on the right is another depiction of beautiful, gentle, wavy rain coming out of these purple clouds of female rain. And I just want to share that there's enough philosophy that's contained within images, within these understandings of the world this way. This philosophy gives me the knowledge to make meaning of my life and to actually know how that I can live. And because of this, I view my daughter and female rain as both relatives and teachers. They both show me how to know of other realities. They both show me how to know of other ways of knowing, of new understandings of being in the world. However, this world here of our Dene world has collided with the world we've been forced to learn and navigate, which is this world of disability. So when my daughter was 3 years old, after a long series of assessments and interviews with a slew of medical professionals and educators, she received her autism diagnosis. And this slide shows the autism criteria taken from the DSM-5. And I remember thumbing through pages and pages of reports that quantified a number of things, everything from behavior to engagement, to how I entered the room with her held in my arms and how I interacted with her. All of the language used to describe her was read through normative medical speculation. And these were presumably the way to know about someone. They were backed by evidence-based practices and research methods of assessment that presumed an access of knowability. And the reports that followed presented an analysis of behavior that alleged authority to kind of represent her thoughts, her voice, her meaning making in the world. Every movement and gesture was recorded, analyzed, and compared to a scale. And these diagrams and scales measured with an assured resolution a fixed representation of who my child was and what she was capable of. More importantly, it focused on the many things she was presumed incapable of. And this was my first engagement with the rubrics of normativity. In this world of reports and assessment, I learned to rely on them for visibility and access to services. Otherwise, we were left without resources or accommodations for her support needs. We were brought into this world of singularity. It was a world where one prevailing understanding of disability dominated law, educational policy, and widespread social attitudes. It was a world predicated on scientific practices of knowing, a medical research process. And it was a world underwritten with narratives that had the power to create systems, but also the power to deny resources to thrive, because we had to become recognizable through diagnosis in order to have the legal protections and basis of accommodation to provide access and support and inclusion into education systems. The absorption into this deficit model held the reward of survival above our heads. If I complied with this vision of knowing, this compartmentalization of personhood and being, we would be rewarded with the resources necessary to make life livable. She would receive legal status for inclusion into educational apparatuses and care centers, funding for different types of therapies and supports, and I would be eligible for additional support through parent training services. But we required recognition under the rubrics of diagnosis, and I went through the hardship of those processes in order to be given help through a piece of paper splattered with a medical diagnosis that would advocate for some social understanding. And the forced imposition of compliance washed over me again and again. To have the disability rights promised by US law and federal policy, I had to comply with the rubrics and rules of that criteria. I adopted the language of those systems, including the biomedical descriptors, to advocate for help and convince insurance agencies and reports that my child's needs were significant enough to be funded. These reports required that I come up with goals rooted in the capitalist language of progress and productivity to provide evidence that the financial investment showed results so that we could continue to receive funding. In this way, I was forced to become an active participant in the continual structural and ideological marginalization of my child. And the rage and injustice that lives in this space is beyond words. There is no way to truly place words on the profound heartache that parents face when we refute these systems, decry their violence, only to return and rely on them. There's also the unspoken pain of Indigenous parents who look to our communities for support they might not receive because our communities have been so violently socialized to adapt these systems as the way of the world, and many do not know how to help. Yet our pain is nothing to the pain of our children and our relations who live at the mercy of these violent systems. Indigenous diverse relations face the most painful and marginalizing effects of colonization and assimilation, where dominating systems tell their relatives how to view them through the logics of ableism, and where community and a sense of belonging can be completely absent in some situations because of the perpetual attacks to our knowledge, kin, and care systems. Colonialism has never ended. This is the system we currently live in and take for granted as the normal way of things, just the usual business as we all presumably agree upon it. It forces parents and caregivers to perpetuate the ideological othering of their children, to mark their difference for a chance to survive in this awful system. We were locked in a system that disciplined our compliance in order to give my child what she already inherently deserves. She deserves unconditional love, to know and be known through her countless relationships that uphold her place as a vital part of the beautiful diversity of the world. She is a child of our ancestors who descended from the breast of our most precious deity, a child of our holy people who was prayed for by our ancestors to live a blessed and beautiful life. The world of disability that my daughter was placed in didn't view her through the lens in which I knew her. She was more than the narratives imposed on her. She was more than the legal and biomedical language used to describe her. She was more than the scales that weighed her ability. She was more than the rubrics that presumed to recognize who she was and who she would become. She is sacred and complex, just like the rain. Her life and subsequently my life produces ontologies of their own, and our precious ontologies pave the way for us to live well and pursue what they call the pathway to beauty, or the corn pollen path to old age. So on this slide is a painting of female rain embodied as a person, and she's wearing a blanket that has a pattern of a rainbow on it, which is our sign for sovereignty. Her forehead is reflected water drops with the 4 sacred colors of our mountains depicted on the left. And facing her on the right side of the screen is a picture I took of Tifa in front of Rangitoto in Auckland. And Tifa and female rain are facing one another within this image. Teachings of female rain and of my child point me forever towards understanding the world in multi-directional ways that relating and connecting and being can offer us. And through these relational ways of being and knowing, we come to understand the diverse ways of being of all life. Through that beautiful diversity, we begin to understand the world through relationships. We learn how to relate to others and how to be relations, how to be good relations. It is the values of Dinesh knowledge that form an understanding of right relations, what makes a good relative, and how to be a good relative. And it is these teachings of relationships, relational ontologies, that the principles of balance, reciprocity, and interdependence are made known. I just want to wrap up with some thoughts about world building. My story highlights the harm of medical systems and our journey through them. It's not to say that diagnosis does not have its uses for many people. Diagnosis is very useful. It could be a means to an end, to secure resources or services. It might be something that better helps people understand themselves. It might be extremely validating or something that helps families better understand their loved ones. My point today is that story is the place of world building because it does not begin or end with diagnosis. It begins and continues with our commitment to relational practices rooted in life, love, and community. It begins with us as a community. Rebuilding the world through Indigenous knowledge found in story creates a world of possibilities. It offers us a new way to think about one another and how our actions either bring beauty into the world or how they can sustain others. And this discussion of disability returns to the concepts of care and flourishing. For the people to be well, the land should be well. For the people to thrive, our waters must thrive. For the people to thrive, we must create the conditions where we all can thrive. All our relations are included within our understanding of world building. So for me, world building is upholding our narratives to give shape to other possibilities, to remember, to reframe, to use that knowledge, to hold our community and our many relations together, and to nurture that reciprocal interdependence of us all. And it is to love one another and move forward together. And that language of love is so difficult in academic spaces and professional spaces. People don't like to use that word, but it is a foundation of love that drives us forward. And with that, I want to acknowledge one of the greatest world builders of our time, Alice Wong. And I know we're all grieving right now, but I want to thank Alice for being one of the first people to support these articulations of Indigenous perspectives of disability, to really uphold and advance that, and to love like radically and fearlessly and change the world through story. So, yeah, Alice, we love you. And thank you for all the beauty that you bring into the world. Thank you so much for sharing the safe space with me today. Yeah.
You're I don't know what to say. That was beautiful. Thank you.
We were clapping our hands, but we were on mute.
I don't know where to stay, but do people have comments, questions? Yes, someone? Ash says thank you. And Patty? Patty says thank you. And much love. Anyone got any questions, observations?
I just want to say huge thank you, Sandra, for sharing your beautiful presentation. And it was like a medicine listening to you. And there were so many moments I felt like I was also crying, and I feel for you about Alice's passing as well. So, and the power of story sharing is the power of resisting and existing in this world. So thank you so much for your articulation today. And I see Patty's hand up, so I'll pass it to you, Patty, but I also have a small question after.
Kia ora, and kōrero mai anō ngā mihi aroha. Much gratitude and much love for your sharing, Sandra. So, aroha mai, still recovering from a cough cold, but one of the things when you were sharing was I remembered a series on eugenics that was held a year or two ago in terms of Native Americans. And I was thinking around not only did it impact on disabled, but also a lot on Native American. But I also have seen it happen within Māori and Māori disabled women here in New Zealand, Aotearoa, New Zealand. But I also was thinking of the impacts of colonisation and the intentional, almost, I can't think of the word, where we have a current culture that tries to keep Indigenous people assimilated and poor and poorly educated, and that impacts Indigenous disabled even more. And I don't know what question I'm asking, but I'm thinking with all of these structures in place, it is beautiful having the narrative of our Indigenous cultures because it creates that space of renewal and refreshment that I miss sometimes because you do get caught up in these spaces. How do you every day deal with it? Because again, the fight as disabled Indigenous is constant. We're dealing with it in the hospitals, in our schools, with our whānau, with our friends. We advocate on, and this isn't just Māori disabled, that's all of our disabled community. How do you manage? Sometimes I feel angry, frustrated, full of rage at some of the things that's currently, not just currently happening, but happened in the past. How do you manage those spaces?
No, thank you for that. And those reflections are so important. You're absolutely right. There's such a connection between ableism and racism, and eugenics and assimilation, this idea of the norm that Indigenous people know through things like colonization itself, boarding schools being uplifted, not valuing our knowledge systems as valid ways that make sense of the world. There's lots of correlations there. How do I manage? It is community, always answers community. I'm a guest here as a Indigenous person that's so far from home, but although we are all so distinct and diverse, we have these relational value systems that help us understand one another. And it's not just Indigenous people. There's so many good people in our communities that have, I know if I reach out my hand, someone will grab it. There's always been someone in our community to help, always. And I don't know what life would be like if it wasn't like that. So I always just say, build the community around you. Yet somehow the right people always get placed close by us in our journeys, and I'm always so grateful for that. But it is a hard question, and I wish there was an easy answer. We're living in such a difficult, violent system, and it's so hard. It's so hard. But I think we have to have these places of respite to come together, to grieve, to laugh, to share, to remember, and to hold what we hold dear, and just acknowledge that time together. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Mihi nui. Thank you.
Andi, I can see your hand up.
Yeah, yes. Thanks so much for that presentation. I am also really emotional just before I have to do a presentation. Thank you for that. And it touched so many things that are really important for me. I think one thing I wanted to ask about was you talked briefly about Western individualist culture conceptualizing disability as something that happens to you, that separates you. And there are particular narratives and misconceptions around that. And autism, there's the idea of autism as isolation, as being lost within the self. Even the word for it, aut, comes from self. And I mean, I've been thinking about ways of both of challenging that, because obviously people's experiences are very diverse, but also even if you're someone who values solitude, even if you're someone who, say, social events don't work for, you're still part of a community and you're still connected. And I just, particularly looking at collectivist cultures, I wondered if you had particular thoughts on that. Thank you.
I love this question. And yes, no, I agree with you. I think Yeah, I think early on when I was trying to like put words to what I was thinking, feeling, experiencing, I was trying to think like what is it? And it's when you say collectivist cultures, the only I can just speak from a Dana perspective is that just this system of relationships, it's very similar to whakapapa, what Maori have here, in terms of like these cascading relationships to land and place and it goes back to this image that I saw in a book by as a photo image, and it was about the world, and it was by this Danette elder. They put a quote in there, and she said, "You're never alone because the earth is beneath you. Like you're a part of the world. Like, and I really like, oh, it just made me think, this I'm really interested in this experience of being and having these relations, what that means socially. I definitely am I value my solitude greatly. But I think there's a lot of harmful narratives of essentializing, right? Or generalizing in so many ways that they're really difficult. Even my use of Western, I'm starting to kind of really interrogate that because there are very useful things in Western systems, right? There are very useful things that are helpful. And so I don't want to create a divide in that sense, but to really think more complexly about the different layerings of how we can understand ourselves and our human experience. And then just the different ways of knowledge and how it kind of collides with one another. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I definitely think it needs to be more diversely framed.
Thank you.
I think we have a quick time. Umi, you had a quick question.
It might not be a quick question, but I know a lot of our knowledge that comes from indigenous world has been lost through the process of colonization and other oppressive systems. And I wondered in your research, how did you access these teachings and knowledge? Or what was your process of doing that? And how
Yes.
can I find your PhD?
Yes, well, I chose a lot of different archives. So it was a the dreadful time of the pandemic where we're all locked down. In my community, it's really important to come face to face because they don't record or they don't publish some of these things. So it's really important to be in person with people. But because of the lockdown, a lot of these forums that would have been happening went online so that we could continue. So as I was living here, that was a way for me to connect with some of these spaces and some of those discussions and those teach-ins. I think that time really helped. Like people were really concerned about just our existence and how do we keep safe things. And so there was this huge revitalization of knowledge happening during the time of the pandemic that happened as well, that they were having these teach-ins. And then just going back to ancestral songs, ancestral stories that I've heard, talking to people, talking to the grandmas, our wonderful grandmas, things like that. Talking to young people. Young people are the best storytellers, and they have their own views of narratives around these things. And so those are kind of the processes that I used. I used a lot of things that had already existed, and drew from them. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I think we better draw that to a close. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. So we're sticking actually with the theme of storytelling, but from a different perspective. So I'd like to welcome our second speaker, who's Andi Buchanan. And Andi, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say in this space. So Andi is based in Lower Hutt, and they did their master's exploring disability in science fiction. Andi's a disabled writer of fiction and non-fiction with work in Pantograph Punch, Lightspeed, and the Other Hood anthology. And goodness, Andi, you're going to have to do a lot of explaining to this old head about all these things. So I really look forward to your presentation. Over to you.
Thank you. I also need to apologise to the interpreters who I've made find words signs for cosmic horror and all sorts of things. So thank you. It's all good. Kia koto, thank you to the organisers of this series and to all of you for being here today. I'm presenting from Te Awa Kairangi Kitai or Lower Hutt, and I'm specifically at the junction of Te Atiawa, Ngāti Toa and Ngāti Kahungunu land. As I was introduced, I've got an MA in English, but I'm also a disabled writer of both fiction and non-fiction, and some of you will also know me through my easy read work. My presentation today is called A Glimpse of a Better World, Disabled Characters in Science Fictional Resistance Communities. The title comes from an episode of Doctor Who I'll talk about in a moment. Last week's session made me realise I need to specify Doctor Who in this is WHO, not Doctor Who HU. And I like this title because so much of disability activism and so much of our creative work is about just having these glimpses of how the world could be improved. Always being really aware that things could be better and they don't need to be how they are. Before I start properly, most of what's on the PowerPoint just short notes or summaries of what I'm saying, but I'll describe when there's an image or other content, and I'm happy to make these slides available to you afterwards. So on this slide, I have a slightly blurry image from Star Trek Discovery. It's of several uniformed officers in the ship's corridor, and one of whom is using a wheelchair. So most of the discussion of disability in science fiction, and probably fiction generally, is centered on individual disabled characters, and particularly on representation. So looking at those characters and asking if they are accurate depictions of the experience of people disabled in that way, if they embody harmful stereotypes, and if they represent common experiences, or if, while not inaccurate, they might be outliers and misleading about the experience of similarly disabled people. The hashtag Own Voices on Twitter, now X, was begun by disabled author Corinne Dovis to highlight books where the author and the main character share a marginalised identity. And when we're talking about film, TV, or theatre, there's also the question of if disabled actors are given the opportunity to play disabled characters. There's a controversial phrase cropping up, sometimes used to describe non-disabled actors who play disabled characters. And these designations can be really useful. They allow readers ways to understand and point out obvious flaws in depictions of disabled characters and identify work that might be affirming, positive, or relatable. But the discussion can also become quite binary, even moralistic. Readers sometimes feel they have to shoehorn works into, is this okay or is it not okay? And there are debates about which experiences of disability do or do not have enough in common to make a book own voices or for an actor to play that character. There have been events where non-marginalised authors have swamped discussions of disability or other marginalised experiences, begging for permission to write characters of a different identity to themselves. And the Own Voices hashtag has been used to put pressure on authors to disclose their own identity. The image on this slide is actor Ruth Madeley. She's a white woman in her late 30s and she uses a manual wheelchair. I'll talk a bit more about her later. In this photo, she's by the TARDIS, which is the blue police box shaped time machine / spaceship from Doctor Who. And the TARDIS has a wheelchair ramp at its entrance. So if we want to take this discussion a bit wider, we're thinking about environment and community. Science fiction and fantasy are important genres in thinking about disability because of the flexibility in imagining how the world might be. And that might be in terms of built environment, social organisation, communities, laws, and more. Considering the socially constructed nature of disability invites us to imagine other worlds. So going further than representation might mean considering how disabled characters are treated within the world they're in and how people respond to them. Are the places they live and work and travel accessible? Do they have community? Are they the lone disabled sidekick who has never met another disabled person? Or do they somehow know literally every other disabled person in the world? This image is from the Hunger Games series. It shows someone holding a banner with a Mockingjay symbol while fires burn in the background. I want to propose some more themes for identification and discussion when it comes to depictions of disability, and particularly looking at collective experiences. I've chosen to look at resistance communities, those collectively involved in resisting and surviving an oppressive government or occupation, because disabled people are so often depicted in isolation and without agency, rather than collectively working together and impacting the world around them. So in this presentation, I'm going to further explore this by looking at 3 novels, all written by disabled authors, and 1 television episode. I'm starting with The Fallen by Ada Hoffman. This is the 2nd book in Hoffman's Outside trilogy. The cover is a little hard to describe, but it shows a woman sitting on a motorway, and the motorway is broken and mangled like in an earthquake, but it's also sort of turning into a tentacled monster with many eyes, which also might be part plant. And the series combines science fiction and cosmic horror. And this novel in particular portrays a mostly neurodivergent group of people trying to help others survive in an area where the rules of reality have fundamentally shifted. And this area is under occupation by a violent force, the angels, who are servants of artificially intelligent gods. All but one of the group are described as having, quote, severe mental health issues. And there's also one of these complex places where magical ability and disability overlap. So people outside the group are described as having low-level abilities that enable them to do things like grow food in places it wouldn't otherwise, or to repel monsters. Others with heightened powers are described as no longer able to talk or live in houses. Yasira, one of the main characters, is experiencing an intense trauma reaction, which has resulted in her becoming plural, that is, multiple people in the same body. The combination of this trauma reaction and her difficulty dealing with it are really debilitating for her. It affects her ability to participate in the resistance, but also to perform what the jargon calls activities of daily living. So things like showering and getting food. And while her difficulties are central, others in the group also experience limitations. Collectively, they accept that most of them have limitations on how they can participate to various degrees. And the book depicts them working around each other's fluctuating ability to actively contribute. Next, I want to look at a recent Doctor Who episode, Wish World, and this image is from that episode. It's of 3 people. One is the character of Shirley Ann Bingham, played by Ruth Madeley, who I mentioned earlier. She's sitting in a manual wheelchair with her legs crossed. The other 2 appear to be white and relatively young, sitting on chairs, one holding a cane. They're all wearing warm clothes and in an encampment with makeshift furniture and shelving. Doctor Who is a franchise that's more than 60 years old at this point. It encompasses books, audio plays, and more, as well as the traditional TV episodes. It has at times portrayed disability very badly, and other times in quite interesting and positive ways. There's certainly been criticism of this episode, but it mostly falls into the latter category. So in Wishworld, a false reality has been created, and a consequence of this is that all disabled people are reduced to begging and living in encampments. There are multiple people disabled in different ways, and I think they're all played by disabled actors. There are quite a few things going on here. In the real reality, Bingham is a scientist and high-level government advisor. There's a reflection here of the sense of precarity that even conventionally successful disabled people experience. The people in the encampment have some sense that this reality is false, that things just aren't quite right. There's a long-standing trope that disabled people have magic ability to compensate for their impairments. Wishworld acknowledges this trope and a character explicitly rejects it. Rather, the experience and social status of disabled people gives them the ability to see the world from a different angle. Val, a deaf woman, says in British Sign Language, which is also interpreted into spoken English, quote, "We live outside the world so we can see it better. We can see when things don't make sense." Because disabled people are ignored, they become almost literally invisible and can use that to their advantage. Brian, a blind character, he's the one with the scarf in the image, says, "It's perception bias. He's not disabled, so he literally can't see us. And if he can't see us, well, then we don't get seen." This is another twist on the superpower idea. These people don't have innate individual magic powers because they're disabled, but they have a power because of their shared experience of social exclusion. Next is Nisi Shaw's novel Everfair, and this cover shows a lamp. It's metal, perhaps brass, sorry. It's round and it almost resembles a head and shoulders. It's held by two hands. One is organic, probably the hand of a black woman, and the other is made of metal. And I just want to give a warning here that I'm going to talk briefly about racialized and colonialist violence in this slide. Everfair is an alternate history. It's got strong steampunk elements. It looks at the atrocities committed by Leopold II of Belgium in what is now the Democratic Republic of Congo. And it asks, what if the Congolese had had just enough advanced technology to effectively fight the invaders? It's the story of an attempt to build a utopian country, and it's told from multiple perspectives, including those who were formerly enslaved in the Americas, white British Fabians, and more. There's a lot going on in this book. It's quite a complex novel. In the book and in history, the violence committed in the area included a large number of people that had limbs forcibly amputated. In Everfair, steampunk technology is used to make prosthetics, not just the basics, but limbs that are mechanically advanced and aesthetically pleasing. One character is depicted choosing from different prosthetics each day, depending on both their appearance and the type of activity she's going to carry out that day. It's important that disabled people are shown as part of the resistance and part of building a new country. But it's also important that war and colonialism are acknowledged as mass disabling events, which I think is something a lot of writers shy away from. It's a difficult line to show the horror of violence without painting the lives of disabled survivors as pure tragedy. And I think by introducing beauty and impressive mechanical elements into these prosthetics, Shaw is attempting to find that balance. Lastly is Chameleon Moon by Roanna Silva. The cover shows a fiery sky above a city with two characters, one with pink hair and a frilly pink dress. the other with green skin and sticking out ears. Like Everfair, Chameleon Moon combines science fiction and fantasy elements, but rather than an attempt to build a utopia, this one is clearly dystopian. It's set in a quarantine area called Parole, which is literally burning. The characters previously had life-threatening illnesses and took an apparent wonder drug. This drug cured the illness, but some months later had unexpected side effects. For those who survived that, they have new powers, which has resulted in them being placed in government quarantine. I'll just mention reading that. This is a pre-COVID novel, so it's not intended as any kind of commentary there. Its characters experience the intersection between real-world impairment and science fictional impairment and superpowers, which often intersect in complex ways. Like in Everfair, there's a character who creates prosthetics and mobility aids. As in Wishworld, there is a sense of cross-disability community, both a shared past of serious illness, but also several characters who are relatedly or unrelatedly disabled. Excuse me. In these works, I've identified 5 themes for further exploration of disabled community, especially in speculative fiction. So I've called these cross-disability community, exclusion and social place as superpower, ingenuity and technology, holding the note, and insight into own identity and context. All these works show cross-disability community, community between people who are disabled in different ways. In some cases, it's an intentionally cross-disabled group. In others, disabled people are part of the same wider community. This leads to different interactions and approaches to accessibility. In Wishworld, a wheelchair user interprets between English and British Sign Language. I want to look further at the dynamics represented, how different demographics may or may not consider themselves part of a wider disabled community, and how overlapping and seemingly contradicting access needs are handled. There are, well, as I've said before, there are well-worn tropes of disability being conflated with superpowers or disabled people having superpowers seemingly as compensation for their impairment or in some way mystically linked to their disability. In several of these works, disabled people use their social place tactically to their advantage, but in Wishworld it becomes an actual power, allowing people to move through the world unseen. Linked to this is ingenuity and technology. Disabled people are great at coming up with our own solutions, so we shouldn't have to be, because specialist products and tools are often unattainable or unaffordable. And I think any portrayal of a resistance group is going to show ingenuity and people using what they have effectively. But in Everfair and Chameleon Moon, that specifically extends to prosthetics and assistive technology. While the people making these are not the same as those using them, it is part of a collective contribution to the community. I've called the next theme Holding the Note, but I've also heard the concept referred to as the parable of the choir. And I couldn't find who originally wrote about this, but the idea is a choir can retain a note while allowing individual singers to pause for breath, as long as they coordinate and don't all pause at the same time. Political activism can be unforgiving and relentless, and disabled activists often have to push back against that. Portraying holding the note, especially among those with dynamic disabilities, is a glimpse, maybe not of a better world, but perhaps of a better pathway to that world. And lastly, insight into identity and context. Often in science fiction and fantasy, authors insist they can't have their characters describe themselves as disabled or use the words people in this world use to define their identity because they say, well, it wouldn't be the same word. Unfortunately, this rarely leads to a genuine exploration of how the society would describe and conceptualize impairment and disability. It more often means the subject is avoided altogether. In these works, characters understand themselves as disabled, as experiencing mental illness, as autistic, as blind. In The Fallen, a character talks about some societies understanding and accommodating neurodivergence better than others. Not only that, but these characters are politically aware. They make self-referential jokes. They know how others perceive them and the tropes around their identity. In Wishworld, a blind character talks specifically about the trope of the idea that blind people have second sight, that blindness gives them magic powers. So this is, of course, only an outline, and some aspects of this are specific to the genres and types of community portrayals I've looked at. Others are applicable to fictional portrayals more broadly, but I'm hoping they give a sense of some of the ways we can consider disability and disabled characters in terms of community, their interactions with others, and impact on the world that move beyond simple binaries of good and bad representation. This image is from a disability history display at the People's History Museum in Manchester, England. There's a banner reading "Nothing about us without us" and placards with wording like "Tory cuts kill disabled people" and "Maximus killers for hire." Midway through The Fallen, one of the main characters travels to a museum on old Earth. She wants to learn about how others fought and resisted in history, what tactics and approaches worked. And while she doesn't find exactly what she was looking for me, this was one of the most powerful scenes of this book. When we're trying to survive and resist with late capitalism, neoliberalism, creeping fascism, we need a sense we're part of a wider story. And part of that is history, but it's also the fictional stories we tell and the ways we have of imagining ourselves. Thanks so much for listening. I've put my LinkedIn, my Linktree, which is more focused on my fiction writing, and my email address on this slide, and I'll put them in the chat in a moment. Thank you.
Oh, kia ora, Andi. I think you've got a superpower in narrative description. I think I understood everything you said. So well done.
Thank you.
Questions, comments, discussion.
There are a few thank yous in the chat.
You got a question?
I haven't really read many science fictions in English, so it was really interesting to learn all the different disabled authors that there are, which is really cool because I didn't know how many disabled authors there are. But when you write your own stories, what do you use as inspirations for your stories?
That's such a big question. I think anything can, once you're thinking about things as a writer, I think anything can provide inspiration. We're using the I word in a disability space, but not in the bad way. This is a good sort of inspiration. I think one of the things I talked about was thinking about how the world could be different. What if you changed that? What would that be like? What if this person was in that position? And it doesn't have to be specifically relating to disability, but I think it's a way that disabled people are trained to notice, like we train ourselves to notice things, and we train ourselves to see what isn't working. And I think while that can be exhausting, I think it can be useful as a fiction writer.
Yeah, I really love how you brought the collectiveness in your analysis, or how you see that was the core message from all these fiction writings, and I really resonate with how we have been seen as an individuals in this mainstream way, but there are so much in collective knowledge that is very powerful.
Yeah, and I think there's I think writers have been scared of including more than one disabled character, much less a disabled community. I think publishing has got some things to answer for in this regard. There's the idea that it's too much or unrealistic, where when it really does. I mean, obviously, diversity of experiences, but most disabled people know or want to know some other disabled people. And I think there's a change happening, and I'm really glad to see it.
You.
Are there any other questions? Frank just wanted to explore further the social. Oh, it's gone already. Oh, there it is. Explore further the social place superpower theme you observed. Is this similar to the inspiration porn narratives that are sometimes used by mainstream media to portray disabled people? So, inspiration porn.
Yeah, that was a bad sort of inspiration. I think it is very linked. I think inspiration porn is often based on people doing everyday activities. And it's, oh, you're so inspirational. You got out of bed this morning. Whereas for superpowers, it's about it's often about compensation, or it's about othering of disabled people, as in, I've already put you in another box. You may as well be magical as well. You're so unconnected from my reality that, there's probably something mysterious about you. I think what they have in common is that they're not looking at people as whole people. They're looking at them in terms of a collection of impairments and abilities, and being quite distancing from them, like not thinking of them as they relate to the ability the speaker or the viewer might have and how their life is, with some differences, but viewing them almost in a different category altogether, and also putting them there in service of the viewer. So you're there to inspire me rather than someone just living their life. And while that's a bit less problematic with fictional people, it's still that sort of, what can I get from this?
Yes, and Ash has made the comment both inspiration porn and disability superpower center the non-disabled person's perspective.
Absolutely. And this doesn't mean that superpowers, I mean, a lot of disabled people find some superpower narratives really relatable, in terms of not having your experience understood, in terms of how society treats you and makes assumptions about you. And sometimes they're just fun, like sometimes we just enjoy them. So it's not that superpowers are inherently bad, it's that idea of pairing them up with disability without any nuance behind it.
Patty, I can see your hand up. You must unmute.
So I'm a great lover of science fiction and fantasy, and I have a few of my favorite disabled authors that I love reading. But have you ever looked at Indigenous tales that tell stories of because one of the things that Māori disabled talk about is Tāwhiri Mātia, who is a blind atua who gifted his eyes to the sky to give us the night lights, the stars in the heavens. Have you looked at different Indigenous tales? It's because again, it's not a story of disability, but that is of someone who's as a gift to decorate the heavens, gifted his eyes. But it's a narrative that I hear quite a lot from Māori disabled.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I have heard that story. I don't think I can, like, I have the understanding to say anything useful about it. In terms of Indigenous science fiction fantasy authors, there's definitely authors I love like Darcy Little Badger, and more locally, people like Cassie Hart and Sasha Stronach. I can't, nothing's coming to mind right now about the intersection of disability with them.
I think there is Shiloh Kino as well, who put out a book.
Yes, with ADHD, there's a character with ADHD.
Yeah.
In,
Oh, and I can't remember the name of the book. I read it last year, but
yeah,
she had a mixture of how she, yeah, it was quite a good book to read, but I really enjoyed the
something like
mixture.
all that we know, or
Yes, I think it's all that.
it's a great book. It's a great book.
Yeah. But you are right though. It is, unless you know the depth of the stories, it's because I when I read about it, I can't remember who's doing. Oh, Tiny Kingi is doing research on it. So I still haven't seen the research come out, because you're right, it is an in-depth understanding of what it is and what it isn't. Yeah. Anyway, but thank you.
Thank you.
I think we've got time for one quick question, which Peter's posed. What are your thoughts on non-disabled actors acting as disabled characters?
I don't have no broad pronouncement on this because I think it's complicated. It also includes it also places disabled people as a monolith. Like, what if you were disabled in a totally different way from the character you're playing? Is that okay? So there's all these nuances to it. I think what I can say with absolute confidence is that if non-disabled actors are playing disabled characters, they need to do their research and consult. That disabled actors need to be given many more opportunities, and not just to play Richard III.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Andi. We've all really enjoyed that. And as well, Sandra, the two talks today have been superb. So thank you very much to both of you. That does give us a little bit of time. First of all, in case we run out of time, I want to really say thank you to the Donald Beasley Institute, and particularly Umi, who's been fundamental, is that the right word, for getting the series up and going and organized. Her and Bridget have done an amazing job, and Ruth has been a wonder in organizing it all in the background. So thank you very much to all those people, and also to Scott and Tamlin. Thank you for signing for us, and for Andi, did they do a good job of trying to use all your fancy words?
I'm sure they did.
So thank you very much for all the signing that's been going on. That's been wonderful. Is there anyone?
Kathleen? Oh, and Kathleen, for all the captions that you provided for all of the sessions, and Inga for all of the amazing tech support to make sure that Zoom was running smoothly. Thank you so much for
But thank you, me. You've been great. So just before we close, with Ruth, did you want to talk about this or?
Just we'd like to hear from you on some ideas for what we should take as our theme for our conversations next year.
They could email. We could discuss it now, but if thoughts came to mind, they can always email one of us.
Yes.
And would you like to talk about your public special issue again?
Yeah, and just to give you a bit more information about our wish to make a collection of these beautiful talks and conversations that we've been having. We'd like to publish this as a special edition of our local journal, which is called Sites, a journal of social anthropology and cultural studies, and it's a B-ranked international journal. And we have in the past run a special issue on the topic of deaf worlds, and we had a nice mix of ways that people could join in that conversation. So some people wanted to write academic papers, some people had given a talk, and so they wanted to really reproduce the talk, and some people simply had thoughts and comments that were really rich about their own lives or their communities, and they wrote in everyday ways about that. And we just invite all these different ways of communicating with us and talking about these issues that we've been discussing in the seminar this year. We invite you to join in, please. And it can be really short. It might be just you had a great idea on the Zoom chat and you just want to make that statement again, that'd be fine. It might be that you would like to present a paper. It's up to you, really, but you've got a warm welcome to join in with us. And we'll be writing to you all again to ask you more formally to contribute at the end of this series today. And this is just wonderful to hear everything that we've been talking about. It's very rich, and I just think it would be really beneficial to so many people. I can think of publishing companies from today, Andi, to kind of strike a note into that arena and get them to think their politics over a bit more. And also, Sandra, what you were talking about, that complicated relationship that we're all dealing with around diagnosis and how it does fill you with rage to see this writing about someone you love, and also how you need to use it to get access to services which you should be being offered anyway. So it's just, these are fundamentally important things for us as people to hear more about. So that's all. Yeah. Oh, and publication date. Sites is notoriously liberal with that, but I believe we could expect it to go into print in December 2026. But we do have advanced publication as well. If anybody wanted to, make use of that for their own professional reasons, it was important to do that. We can arrange for that to happen.
So have there been any, burning ideas or flashbulb moments of what we might, themes we might concentrate on next year? Or would you all like to just think about it and let us know?
I would like to thank you, Liz, for coming up with this year's theme about hope in navigating neoliberalism. And I think we had so many amazing speakers from that theme that all resonated one way or the other. So yeah, that was really great.
I was just about to ask, how did you come up with this year's theme? Because it was just personal living. Yeah. It was your the topic. It just comes up so often in conversation, doesn't it? In all our different communities. I just wanted to put forward an idea that Bridget had. Bridget was wondering whether or not it might be useful for us to investigate the significance of artificial intelligence in our communities. She was thinking about how much it can be both assistance but also troubling, to replace our jobs. I don't know. That's just one thought.
And there is a comment here from Frank saying the combo of a refreshed New Zealand disability strategy being refreshed and being a general election year could perhaps find a theme that unpacks these.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We could even get some people to trot their political credibility, couldn't we? We could actually ask them to make a comment and debate that. Yeah. That could be good.
We might have to bring it further forwards from November.
Yeah, we would have to, I think.
Right, I'm conscious of time and we probably need to vacate the room. So Umi is going to close us out. Thank you.
Menoi kato, unuhia, unuhia, unuhia ki te uru tapanui, kia wātea, kia mama, te ngāko, te tinana, te wairoa i te ara tākata. Ko iara e rongo, whakairia a te kiruka, kia tina, huie, tākie.
Ai, kia.
Here, everyone. Thank you and go well. And yay, it's the weekend.
Ngā kite tānei.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Umi. It's really nice to meet you. Bye.
Thank you, Tamlin.
Thank you, Tamlin.
Thank you, everyone. Ruth, Umi.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.